My name's Dylan Martin, and this is my story. I remember what it feels like. I remember the euphoria. I remember the drip in the back of my throat from cocaine. I remember snorting lines of methamphetamine and it hitting the back of my head like a sledgehammer. I remember all those things, but they have no grip over me anymore, and I'm here to tell you why. I was using drugs from a very young age. It's really all that I knew. It's all that I wanted. There was nothing, no higher purpose than that. I saw myself dying in my mid-20s at best. That was my destiny. That was what I was destined for, was to die young, and I was okay with that because there was no God, there was no true happiness. There was no real purpose for a living. There was no higher fulfillment. It was just about my happiness. So God flipped my whole world upside down one day when I was sitting uptown in North City, Illinois, and unbeknownst to me, this girl was singing on her piano, and she was singing a song that she wrote that said, "Tell it on the city streets, let every man hear that God is still God and his arrival is still near." God asked her, "Do what you're singing about. Don't just sing about it, go do it." And she was obedient to that, and she went uptown, and there I was. And that was God calling me, man. That was God moving through another person to get to me, and I'm just so thankful for that. She invited us to church, me and the guy that I was with, and I ended up going to church with her, and went on a Sunday and a Wednesday, and September 25th, 2011, on that Wednesday, the preacher that was preaching said that she felt like God was asking her to let the worship service go on and not preach a message, so she did that. During a worship song, I was asking Abby, what is this energy I feel? What is this that I feel? And it was the Holy Spirit that was loving the hell out of me, literally. He was changing me from the inside out, and I gave my life to Jesus that Wednesday night. In the midst of my sin, in the midst of my complete depravity, in the midst of my selfish living and my constant drug abuse and my manipulative thinking and how I controlled and used and fought and stole and just the person that I was, God loved me in the middle of that. He loved me when I was fully entrenched in sin. He loved me and he cared for me. For about a month after I got saved, Abby taught me how to read the Bible, how to pray. She taught me what love looked like in a person. She told me, the love of God living through a person, what that really looked like. And I didn't know that this type of love existed. I didn't know that it was within my grasp to experience love from God, from the invisible God. But Jesus made himself so real to me that after about a month, with no shame or nobody trying to manipulate me into quitting drugs or anything of the sort, I just lost the desire because I was satisfied by something so much more real, something so much more pure. I wish that I could say that I never went back to drugs, that I never went back to sinful living, that I never went back to doing things that I knew that God had brought me out of, but I did. It was just like going and drinking dirty sewage water after you've had, the finest filtered water. It's just so apparent to you that there's such a stark difference between God's love and the darkness that the world offers you and tries to consume you in. Every time that I would willingly walk back down the road that God took me out of, man, I would just hear God, and he was asking me, man, do you not know what I've done for you? Do you not remember where I brought you out of? And do you not think that what I did on the cross was sufficient? Do you just take it in vain and go back to the way in which you were living? And that really struck me every time, and I was never able to enjoy sin. He just ruined me, man. He ruined me for that level of sin, and he just brought me into a different paradigm. And I was reading this morning, and in Psalm 40 it says, "He also brought me out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock and established my steps. He has put a new song in my mouth, praise to our God. Many will see it and hear, and will trust in the Lord." And that's what he did. He brought me out of the pit that I was in, and he set me on the firm foundation of the rock of Jesus Christ.